Welcome back to Inside the Box. I'm your host, Joanna Lee, and we are in the first episode celebrating Women's History Month. Today's guest is a wonderful pianist who has previously made guest appearances with the Vancouver Symphony Orchestra and the Vancouver Metropolitan Orchestra. She has studied with Edward J. Parker and currently continues her studies with Dr. Sara Davis Buchner. She has also participated in masterclasses with Stephen Hough, Lortie, Dina Yoffe, and was selected to participate in the prestigious Beethoven masterclasses at the Wilhelm Kempff Academy under Bernd Goetzke. Some of her awards includes first place in the 2017 Vancouver Women's Music Society Scholarship competition and Temple University Concerto competition. She has also won the Ann Warrender Scholarship. It is my absolute pleasure to welcome Hannah Han. Welcome, Hannah. It is so great to have you here with us today.
Hi, Joanna. Thanks for having me. I'm super excited.
Yeah, for sure. Me too. So I wanted to start off with your origin story from the beginning to where you are today.
Just like a superhero, everyone gets an origin story now.
Yes, of course.
So I grew up in Calgary, which is where I was born. And I started playing the piano officially when I was 5. My mom got me started way before I was 5, honestly. But it was like more like fun activities, like learning to count. She got me like colored paper and she would make me like cut it and then put it on the staff lines to learn the notes and learning where middle C is, of course. So piano was always like a fun activity for me when I was a little girl. And to make it even better, like my first performance, I was in kindergarten. I was 5 years old, and it was at the school gym. Can you guess what I played?
Twinkle.
Oh my god! Can I play, or is that like?
Please
Okay.
do.
Of all the things. I didn't play this intro when I was 5. This is, but I played My Heart Will Go On by Celine Dion. And the whole school knew me. The whole school. So like, you're a little girl, you're wearing this pretty dress and, everybody's applauding. Everyone's praising you. Of course, why wouldn't you like piano? It was like, to me, like it was one of the best things you could do as a kid. And even before then, my mom told me, like when I was little, she'd turn on music and I would always like dance or like some kind of like, I was always with the rhythm, and she's like, oh, okay, we need to get her on an instrument or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then things got a little bit more serious when I moved to Vancouver. I was 7, and I started piano lessons, not with my mom, and piano lessons with Mr. Parker, Edward J. Parker. And I mean, I was never like child prodigy, or I wasn't gifted, nothing special like that, but I worked hard. So of course I excelled. And because Mr. Parker knew I worked hard, because my mom knew I worked hard, they pushed me, of course. So by 9, I was already playing, like Mr. Parker gave me, I mean, it's just the first movement, but the Mozart Concerto, Kerschel 488 in A major. And I was playing Chopin Nocturne, what else? Bach Prelude and Fugue. And, what happens when you practice and practice and practice, you get burnt out. And yeah. I did get burnt out when I was like in my teenage years. And it wasn't that I disliked music. I just had other interests and I wanted to do other things. And of all things, I, at one point, actually this, I never told anyone. So this is like a confession time.
All right, let's have it.
I wanted to be like a writer. But obviously, I never felt as deep of a connection with other things as I did with music. So that's why I'm here. So that's a little background into how I kind of evolved into who I am now.
Can you tell me more about your later years after you studied with Edward Parker?
So eventually, I auditioned to the University of British Columbia. I wanted to study with Dr. Sara Davis Buchner. I came across one day. I was kind of deciding what to do, where to go, and then Mr. Parker's son, Ian Parker, walked in. It's like, do you know Sara Buchner? I'm like, no. I mean, I didn't know anything. And it's like, and he's like, oh, look her up. And I saw her biography and was like, oh wow, I would love to. She sounded amazing. I was like, I would love to study with her. And so I auditioned to UBC, and I ended up studying with her, and she is amazing. So I think had I not known her, I mean, I always loved music, but I don't think I would have made it this far. I mean, I still, of course, have a long way to go, but even to get where I am, Dr. B had a lot to do with it.
Wow, it sounds like she has given you a lot of opportunities to express yourself in the best way possible. And that's what makes a really great teacher, is someone who can hone your skills and your personality in how you perform and whatnot, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's beyond. I feel like that's one of the greatest difficulties with being a teacher. It's not just about music. It's also like letting the student discover themselves, letting them grow out of their shell, guiding them, not just musically, but like you said, personality-wise. And I learned from her not just about music, but also being a person, being myself. And to this day, I'm very grateful that I made the decision to come to UBC and to study with Dr. Buchner.
You're studying with her right now, right?
I'm currently at Temple University. I'm finishing up my master's degree, and I'm studying with Dr. Buchner. And I will be continuing because I'll be continuing with the DMA program in fall.
That's amazing. Congratulations. I'm so happy for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so speaking of auditions, in your experience, how does one successfully prepare for an audition?
You know, surprisingly, I don't actually have a lot of audition experience because for my undergraduate, I only applied to one school. For my master's audition, I only applied to one school. And guess what? For my DMA, I only applied to one school. That being said, I got into the school that I applied for all 3 times. So maybe I am doing something right. But it's ironic. I think what happened for me was because I only applied to one school. I was in this mentality, it's all or nothing. I don't have a backup plan. I don't have a plan B. So it made me work harder. And also, I mean, first things first, you have to practice. There are no shortcuts with practicing. You just have to practice. But you gotta show up at the audition, and in the 15 minutes, you gotta show whoever's on the panel, whoever's on the jury, who you are, what you're here to do, why you want to be there, why you deserve to be there, and what makes you, express, just be able to express yourself, what kind of music you can play, what you can do at the piano, for a piano audition, of course.
Yeah, so would you say putting your best foot forward and playing the materials that you can interpret the best?
that's where it's difficult because, you know, in the audition, the requirements, they want to hear a little bit of everything, right? They want to hear the Bach, the classical, the romantic, the contemporary. So, I mean, it's a little difficult because for me personally, because there are certain pieces that I do love and I don't feel as anxious to play, whereas I really struggle with Bach or some of the classical forms. I mean, it's always like, I think that's the biggest struggle as a musician is, do you play what is, you know, acceptable, or do you play how you want to express it? In my case, I went and kind of played it the way I wanted to play it, you know, because it's your 15 minutes. If they don't like it, I mean, they won't like it, but they're not gonna be like, oh, it's terrible. I did the best I could, and I don't have any regrets in that regard.
Mm-hmm. So would you say, since they only listen to about 15 minutes, would you say that you only prepare like 15 minutes of the first of each piece?
No, you have to go in thinking they're gonna make you play the whole thing, because I mean 15 minutes is an approximate time. Sometimes for my DMA audition it went longer. I expected them to cut somewhere, but no, it didn't happen. And in one of the audition, I was playing a Bach toccata. And you know, you think because a toccata, like, you know, it has sections, like, oh, maybe they'll stop me here. Nope, they listen to it all. So you have to be prepared to play everything.
Okay.
It's a little difficult though, because like I said, I was kind of what's the word? I was apprehensive. I was kind of expecting them to cut someplace, but you can't do that. You shouldn't do that. I think you just have to go in there, and also I think that throws a lot of people off. It's like they cut you and then say, oh, can you start here? It's like, oh no, I didn't practice that. So yeah, you have to practice those things too.
Of course, yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. So, you know, you're a very impressionable young woman who has had a lot of success. What would you tell young women who are like-minded and striving to be like you, or who want to pursue a similar career path to yours?
I mean, it's not just young women, but for everyone. I think, you know, be healthy, not just physically, but also mentally and socially. Enjoy the moments. Don't live life with regrets. Do what you gotta do. Be well-rounded. Because who you are as a person becomes, it transfers into the music. What you express at the keyboard, at the violin, it has a lot to do with who you are here. So you have to be healthy here and here. So I think that's what I want to say. Yeah, be healthy.
That's great advice. Yeah. So, what are your thoughts on the classical music scene today, and how can it be preserved?
As for preservation, I don't think we need to worry about that. I don't think classical music is dying out. It's thriving, actually. There's always going to be young prodigies, you know, up and coming. It's like a factory nowadays, right? So I don't think we have to worry so much about preservation. But one thing I noticed about the classical music scene currently is with the outbreak of COVID, you know, at first classical music got hit hard, right? Because live performance is what makes classical music, and we weren't able to do that because of COVID. It was difficult, but one thing that changed for the better, I think, is the amount of resources, online resources we have. Now, if you know where to look, you know, you can find these master classes that weren't available before COVID. More people doing these kind of, you know, like without COVID, I don't think a lot of people would have an idea of how to work Zoom, these online interviews. Like, these are things that I feel like, I mean, it always existed, but with COVID, it got bigger, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, you're right. This is why we're doing this right now.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So yeah, it opened doors. So I think classical music will continue to thrive. So I'm not too worried about classical music like dying out or anything like that.
Yeah, that's hopeful. So, yeah, speaking of accomplishments, I was wondering, what are your proudest accomplishments?
I don't think of it so much as accomplishments, but you know, one thing that keeps me going at the piano is feedback is really important. Of course, we go out on stage and we do what we gotta do, but also we you know, as much as we say, you know, don't care too much about what people say, do what you gotta do. But of course, to get better, to improve, we have to constantly kind of be in tune with the feedback.
Absolutely.
I think when I play and I'm able to connect with someone, even just one person in the audience, and I made them feel something, I made them kind of, you know, react to whatever I played. I think that would be the biggest accomplishment. I don't know how to explain it. It's kind of it's really odd, but it's just I'm one of those people that get really nervous.
Yeah.
Playing. There are many times where I want to just run away and not show up. But it's because of you know, music is something very special. Like I feel like it's something that without music, like we feel things, but I feel like music enhances whatever we're feeling to a tenfold. And if I can make the audience feel special, I think that's why I do this.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much, that should be the reason for us to perform. We're giving our audience something, and we always have something to offer them, whether it's invoking emotions of joy or sorrow or even passion, right? And it seems to be that that's a very forgotten motive for a lot of musicians these days. And yeah, I'm really glad you shared that.
I mean, that connection is very special because I mean, most of the time musicians are loners. I mean,
Absolutely.
yeah, what do you do all day? We practice alone.
We do. And it's like a long suffering type of journey. But I think it's the journey that matters more in shows. Yeah, so it seems like you really believe in the philosophy that music heals. Can you go into that more?
There's a very spiritual aspect about music. So in that sense, music is very healing. And I think I already kind of touched on it a little bit about how, you know, musicians are loners. There's a lot of self-time, a lot of solitude. You know, there's a lot of thinking involved. And so you get to know yourself better through music. I can't, okay. I think I read this somewhere. I can't remember where, but I think it said something along the lines of crying is actually good for you, because when you cry, you release these toxins and hormones, and you feel better afterwards. And to me, music is kind of like that. Whether it's sorrow or joy, whatever I'm feeling, music amplifies that. And after I play, I feel better.
Wow, that's amazing. So it's cathartic in a way.
Yes.
Speaking of concerts and speaking of nerves, how do you prepare for performances?
Okay, so how do I prepare for concerts? Like I said, I get terribly nervous before going up on stage. So one thing I don't do is I don't drink coffee before a performance, like at least like a week before, because once I drank coffee right before I went up, and I played everything, I think at least twice as fast, and that's not good. Not good for your sanity. I don't know how I managed. I think it was the muscle memory. I was able to do it because of muscle memory. But It's not good for your mental sanity. But that being said, there are people who actually drink coffee on purpose to achieve that effect of playing faster intentionally. And also, there are people, they're very rare. They're like finding unicorns, but they do exist, that don't get nervous. And in some ways, I'm not envious of that. I think nerves are part of the performance. As long as you don't have tragic memory slips, I think nerves is part of the performing experience. But going back on topic, how do I prepare for, practice, of course. Rhythmic exercises, transposition, things Dr. B swears by, things I've been told to do. I do them. Not enough, but I do them. And just having everything. Of course, you don't want to go on autopilot when you're playing a concert, but there are moments where you do, and you have to rely on muscle memory. So the more you practice, the more it's not just in your fingers, but also in your arms, the better.
Absolutely. I could definitely relate to that. So
I'm curious, Joanna, did you ever have a tragic experience on stage?
Oh, probably. I just block it out because I don't hang on to it. I learn from it and then I sort of move on, because it's not worth getting depressed or sad over. It's just like a learning experience, and everybody goes through it, right? You probably go through it. I probably went through it. But at the end of the day, it's how we pick ourselves up and recover, rather than, just dwell on it. I think you shouldn't dwell on things, I think, and beat yourself up, because that can be crippling, of course. And it's a life experience, I guess, and a learning experience. So yeah, we're only human, right? Right?
Well said. I had one, I can't say for the future, but in the past, I had one situation where I couldn't get through any of my repertoire in the program. But in some sense, I'm glad that happened, because I learned so much through that experience. At the time, I thought my world was, just falling apart. I wanted to crawl inside a hole and never come out. I never see anyone again. It's like, that was how tragic it was at the time. But and that goes back to being, psychologically, mentally healthy, because when you have things going on, it shows in your playing. There are people who can do well under pressure and who can, perform well under whatever circumstances, but I'm not one of them. I need to be healthy with my sanity in order for me to play the way I want to play. So, yeah, anyways, I thought I'd just share that. It's like you said, it's not the end of the world. You shouldn't let that stop you and cripple you. You have to learn from it and become better.
Absolutely, you're right. So I was wondering, can you tell me about your recent and upcoming projects?
So I do have my graduation recital coming up next month, and I also have concerto performance coming up also next month. So right now I'm working. I wish I was practicing more, and not just hours, but like the mental practice and the really concentrated, focused kind of practicing, not just like running your fingers, but sometimes, when you're tired, when you're worrying about like what you have to do, you're not fully there. So I am guilty of just running my fingers at times, but I'm trying to do less of that and do a lot of more strategic practicing. Yeah, so those are some of the projects that I have as of now. And if I have anything else, I mean, of course, I'll keep you updated. I'll let you know.
Yeah, sounds like you're keeping busy for sure.
Yes. Not busy enough, but busy.
So, based on your recent success with the concerto competition, how does one successfully prepare for competitions generally?
Because I feel like nowadays there is like a certain style of playing for competitions. If you you know, there's kind of like a cookie cutter way of playing. I feel like I'm kind of off topic because I'm not really talking about how to prepare for competition. No, actually, that's part of it, because you need to know what is what people are looking for. Actually, can I play a little bit?
Yeah.
You want to be clean when you're playing in a competition, right? And so this is a Bach piece. This is a Bach Fantasia in A minor. You know, you can play like that, but you can also play like this. So you can play like that as well. Would you play it like that at a competition? That's the big question. It's a continuous question that I still ask myself, you know, but when you're up on stage, it's your moment. You gotta do what you gotta do. You gotta do. It's not so much even just playing it. Excuse me. I'm not. Something just went down my throat the wrong way. You know, how do you play it? How do you justify that? How do you validate that? How do you convince everyone that's the right way? How do you decide what to do at a competition, right? No, you gotta do what you gotta do. No, I'm like a paradox. I'm telling them you gotta do what you gotta do, but at the same time, it's like, don't do that at a competition.
Okay, it's okay. That's totally fine. I mean, it is what it is, right?
For the concerto competition, I played the Tchaikovsky concerto, and Tchaikovsky is not as, I feel like, not as controversial as something like Bach, because with Bach, you know, kind of in relation to Tchaikovsky and Bach, Tchaikovsky is more modern. We have more documents about Tchaikovsky. In some sense, we even kind of have a little bit of recordings from that period too, like the very late Romantic. So we kind of have an idea of what they're doing. So the things I do with Tchaikovsky concerto, it's not like a big issue. But if I'm playing something like more historical, there is always that question: what is the acceptable way of playing at a competition? First, you have to be clean, of course. You have to be, the memory has to be secure. So, yes, it's not something that I'm made out for. I love, I prefer performing than kind of putting myself into a mold. That kind of pressure that I feel like is not healthy for people.
Fair enough. Well, it definitely, helped your career, I would say. So it's beneficial in some ways. And, I think we should all go in with the mindset that, well, you have nothing really to lose, because you really have more to gain than to lose in a competition.
it's not the end of the world if you don't win a competition. You just go for the experience, and like you learn about these things. It's like, oh, there's a certain competition way of playing. Who cares though? Who cares if somebody tells you no, that's not, you just go out there, play your music.
Absolutely. So my final question is, how would you celebrate International Women's Day?
Girls' night out. Celebrate it with other women, other close friends. Yeah, I think that's the best way to celebrate Women's Day. Get together with a group of girls that you adore, wear something nice. I think I'm already prepared to celebrate.
You're ready, so yeah, absolutely.
International Women's Night Out. No, I mean it's very special because we need to celebrate more. Even in music, we need to play more women composers, get to know them better. So I think that's another way I can celebrate it, is to right now I'm in love with Cecile Chaminade, so play some of her music.
Absolutely, yeah. Thank you, Hannah, for sharing all your insight. It was absolutely wonderful to have you here. And for those of you watching, thanks for tuning in. Without you, we wouldn't have the show. So I would like to encourage everyone to keep supporting strong women like Hannah, who will continue to make history. After this, there will be a wonderful performance of Hannah. So stay tuned, please enjoy, and
hit that like button and subscribe, and don't forget to turn on the notification bell, and also leave a comment down below. Thank you.
See you next time. Bye.